Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. My name is Preacher Moss. I'm the host of the SOS the Shoutout Show. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, today is kind of a revelation for me today. I oftentimes talk about so many things that are outside of my purview. The way I see things, the way I address things, how I feel about certain occurrences and events that happen in our community, in the world, in the United States, even in my personal life. And today was interesting because I saw a video of a man talking about basically, what are some of the things that hold us back? Literally, we can talk about the things and events that are out there in the world, but not to the point where we overlook the fact that we do have a great amount of control about who we are and what we do and our ability to succeed and our ability to fail. When you break it down, brothers and sisters, the whole aspect of success and failure has a lot to do with not so much the response of the outside world, but how you frame inside you, how you're going to present yourself, how you're going to express yourself. So this show is a little bit different. I'm actually going to take myself to task, if you don't mind, talking about some of these things, addressing, if you will, the enemy within. There are a lot of us who deal with our own challenges. We have our demons, we have our shortcomings, the things we wish we were better at, there's things we wish we never did, there are people we wish we never hung around, and then there's people who inspire us to give ourselves chances, give ourselves opportunity to forgive ourselves for the things that didn't happen in the past, forgive ourselves for our failures, and sometimes just appreciate who we are just for the effort. So I wanted to get away from politics. I hope you guys don't mind. I want to get away from Omicron. I hope you guys don't mind. I want to get it away from, not so much social justice, because that's important, but I want to get to the us in social justice. We have self-justice that we really need to begin applying to these situations, because in the end, the value of you begins and ends with you. How you feel about yourself is how people are going to treat you. I'm going to explain some things and share some stories, and I hope you feel comfortable with me sharing some of your stories. You can get into the comment section. Sister Town is always on the button for whoever gets in. But my point, brothers and sisters, I really personally feel that in the last couple of years, we have overlooked this thing. And I talked about it yesterday, that we have given ourselves over in some regards to the external. I was watching a thing with Russell Simmons, Uncle Rush. He had his IG on this morning. I happened to actually peep in. And he talked about how much we are a part of the world, but we're not the world. How great you think you are in your life, how important you think you are in your life. If you look at it in the span of time, you wouldn't make a dent in the span of time. That you said something important, that you made somebody laugh, that you made a lot of money, it's not something that you can claim as organic. It's not like somebody hasn't done it before. Or it's not like somebody who hasn't done it better. If you had money, there was someone who made more money than you. If you built a building, some people built more buildings. If you built schools, some person built more schools. You came up with curriculum, somebody came up with a better curriculum. And that's not a bad thing, brothers and sisters. It's not a bad thing. It's not something that should lead to some kind of weird or obtuse self-condemnation. It's the fact that we exist. We have value in our minds. In our minds. And that's where it begins and that's where it ends. Your outward expression of yourself is extremely important. I had to learn this over the years. And just so you guys know, the comedy business is a brutal business. It's a difficult business. And I've said this before. Maybe I haven't said it lately, but honestly, in my own DNA as an only child, I'm going to tell you, I was an introvert. For most intents and purposes, I'm still an introvert. I can sit in a room for hours, nobody being around, and be cool. I can go to a track, I can not be around people and be just as happy as a part of being around people. Comedy is that thing that pulls me out of it, brothers and sisters. But even then, I'm telling you that it has a function, that there's some kind of trade-off that I have to feel in my mind that I'm offering somebody, whether it's conversation or entertainment. And that was the thing I had to deal with for a lot of years until I had to go through a process where you say, comedy is what you do, but it's not who you are. Being funny is a verb. It's not who you are. And in that disassembling, if you will, and realignment, I found not just joy in doing comedy. I found joy in not doing comedy. I found joy in just being myself. I found joy in talking to people on the street. I found joy in seeing somebody who may be going through a tough time. And when I went to a store, 7-Eleven, I got myself a bottle of water, but I got them a bottle of water too. This is the freedom, if you will, that you're not thinking about how blessed you are. You just know how blessed you are. And you don't have these weird hiccups. These people that hang around you, these toxins that want to tell you that you are something other than what you believe you are. You know, we talk about the enemy outside of ourselves, but we don't address the enemy within. We're not having long, detailed, brutal, compassionate conversations about ourselves to ourselves. Now, we're going to talk about it today. I hope you guys don't mind. Please dig in here. Feel free to jump in. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff I went through and share. Maybe some of you are going through it. I don't know. But I feel free and I feel empowered to share my story with you, and hopefully, inshallah, Allah willing, that we'll do some good here today. All right? My name is Preacher Moss. This is a Shoutout Show. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, everybody. Thank you so much. I want you to take a look at what's behind me while I'm talking to you. First, before we get started on our topic today, I want to make sure that I welcome our Shoutout Show family, the most valuable part of the show. Let's get them on here. Let's introduce them. Who we got first? Sister Satana. We got Sister Ree. Sister Ree has sent over the baddest casserole. I'm getting ready to dig into it after the show. Sister Ree, thank you so much for bringing that by. I told you folks, Sister Ree is the show dietitian, and she's craft services, and she has not failed today. Satana, I see you on the screen. You are not getting any. You're not in any. Zero. I'm going to send you a picture of an empty pan. All right. That's sidebar talk, Sister Satana. Sister Satana, can we get our next guest, please? And we give a shout out, of course, to Mary Moss, my mom. What's going on, Mama and Son? Greetings, SOS family. She said, have a good day. It's always empowering to wish somebody goodwill. I appreciate you, Mama Son. We'll talk after the show, as always. You know, it's funny when you get a critique from your mom after the show, and you have to sit there and take it, just like when you were like 7, 8 years old. But I appreciate it, because a lot of times, you know, I need to hear it. I need to have a little bit of that air taken out of the balloon, just so it just keeps me working harder and trying to deliver a better product. My mom always just wanted me to do better than I did the day before, and I appreciate that. Mom and Son, thank you so much. Next up, Altaf Rashid. Here's a brother, consistent. We call him Mr. 6 o'clock. Straight up, straight down. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. You know what I like about Altaf? Altaf comes and he contributes, but, you know, it's not like he puts upon us that he's doing us a favor. Just like everybody else in the show, they don't put it upon us like we're doing you a favor. It feels genuinely like, organically, like a community. It's a blessing to know people's name, where you stay, what's going on with you, are you right, is your family. You know, when you do comedy, you literally don't know anybody. I can literally tell you of times when I did stand up and I worked a room 4 nights in a row, sometimes 10 shows, 11 shows. I couldn't tell you the name of anybody in the crowd. I couldn't even tell you where they lived. I can only tell you that the interaction that we had was sparse, and it only worked for that environment. So very blessed. Altaf, good to see you, brother. Thank you so much. Next up, it's my little brother, Johnny L. Thomas. JT is, I'm happy to say that I'm in that space now. I have friends who have been with me over 30 years. You know, and I'm not bragging, and I'm blessed But there are some of us who have friends over 30 years. Rick, BT Rick, a Bitcoin guy. I've known Rick since I was 4. That's 50 years. And you begin to look at people who have been around you and supported you. But the most important thing about supporting you is they understood that you had to be you in your own space. Those are the type of friends I've been blessed to have. I'm sure many of you have them. Little brother, thank you so much for joining the show. Peace and blessings to the Thomas family, as always. And tell my nephews they don't call their uncle anymore, but I still love them. All right, next up. Sister Ika coming all the way from Indonesia, Depok, Indonesia. We hope that you and your family are on the mend. Sister Ika, you don't even have to be here. I think at the time right now, Sister Ika is like 5:10 in the morning. She tunes in. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Peace and love to you and your family. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, next up, we got Sister Sonia Salahuddin. Dalton, what's going on, sister? You beat Brother Bilal on here, and I know you would. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm switching gears, Sister Sonia. I'm switching gears, and I'm just going to talk about us for a while. I hope you don't mind. I hope you stick with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your support. Next up, Bilal. Sister Sonia beat you out, so, thanks for coming, but she beat you. No knock. We still love you, man. We know we want your participation, but she beat you. Okay. So thank you so much for coming, Bilal. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In fact, salams to the entire Salahuddin family. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your participation. If I haven't said it enough, then I'm going to say it now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, next up, we got, of course, Sister Satana Whitfield working the ones and twos on the production, making this whole StreamYard thing bounce. And I have to shout out Sister Satana. We've had some fairly challenging shows in terms of the technical aspects of it. Bringing in videos, making sure the cues are straight. We get our new sponsors and stuff. She's been doing that work, so I really appreciate you, Sister Donna, and keep getting better. That's all I can say. Keep getting better. All right. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, brothers and sisters, can we get started? The topic today is addressing the enemy within. If you look over here, there's a thing that says talent wanted. Talent wanted. Now, I put this up here, brothers and sisters, for a reason. And the reason that I want to go with talent wanted, because for a lot of years in my profession as a comedian, as a teacher, I always had an issue with talent. And my issue with talent was I made the mistake over and over and over and over again of taking first glances of people around me in terms of their talent. Now, here's the thing that was damaging. I equated the fact that maybe they did something first, maybe they did something longer, maybe they did something and more people saw it. I equated it with them being proficient. I equated it with these people being efficient, that they actually knew what they were doing. I actually equated it sometimes that the talent wanted was more than the talent within. Let me say it again. The talent that was wanted was more than the talent within. What I'm trying to say here in this situation, and what's that, my phone going off? Everybody's going nuts. It's okay. What I want to add here, brothers and sisters, is the fact that I gave a very, very, very poor rendering of myself because I felt these people that were outside of me somehow had the magic formula. They had the magic formula. I had a friend of mine when I first started teaching in Milwaukee. I had been away from Milwaukee for a couple of years. After I graduated, I came back. This gentleman, when I came back, he was like a star teacher. Everybody loved this guy. He was teaching, I think, regular ed. I was teaching special ed. It was so bad in my classroom, they made him like my teacher trainer. I had to go and observe his classroom. And everybody talked about him. And I was like totally devoid of my own skill sets, my own talents, because I'm like, everybody likes him. Maybe I should do what he does. Well, your eyes can deceive you. Perception is always not the best perception. And what I learned later is that he was not the person that he said he was. In fact, he was a horrible person, legally and spiritually and morally. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to get into the fact that somehow I gave myself over to this guy. Now, there's a term out there. You've probably heard it before. If you have, forgive me for being redundant. But there's a term out there that's called Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. And what the imposter syndrome is that we feel that the external things outside of us are so inherently better than what we are that it handicaps us when we actually go out there and try and give our efforts. That we believe people are better than us, that even when we are successful, somehow we're just lucky. We overachieve because we're worried about what everybody else thinks. And as a result, it does wear and tear on the spirit. You see what I'm saying? It does wear and tear on the heart. It wear and tear on the mind, brothers and sisters. And I went through this for a long period of time. I went through it through sports. I went through it through college in some regards. And it was around the time that I actually decided to make the shift to convert. To be honest, to convert. And I got into a space whereby the paradigm shifted, brothers and sisters, that the focus was not on other people per se. The focus was on my character, my internal fortitude, how I felt about myself in relationship to God and then the world. Now, why am I saying this? Because a lot of us, brothers and sisters, suffer some aspects of imposter syndrome. We create barriers whereby we can't get over them, and thus we sit and wallow sometimes going, why me? Why me? Poor me. And the issue is, you're the biggest barrier to you. You're not having honest conversations about what it is. I'll be honest, brothers and sisters. I went to military school for 6 years. My mom and dad, I love them, but they were strict at certain things that you didn't do. I grew up with codes being in the neighborhood. There were certain things put in place that literally guaranteed a high probability that I would graduate, that I would be able to do things like have family and stuff because you grew out of a tradition. Now, this is just my tradition. I'm not saying anything about anybody else's, but I'm just talking about myself. And I know personally, brothers and sisters, that my discipline at some point in time has made people uncomfortable. That my discipline at some point in time has been off-putting to some folks. And years ago, I would worry about that discipline. And why is this important? Because there are young kids out there going through the same thing, these same aspects of imposter syndrome, not really understanding at a child level, at a juvenile level, at a young adult level, that, there is this enemy within. And your authentic self may put other people off, but you cannot change the essence of your authentic self. You can't do that. In the Muslim tradition and prophetic tradition, we can't change the DNA of our authentic self for other people. You understand? We can serve people, but there's something about our core values that got us to this point in the first place, that allowed us to, some regards, go through this change or transition, whatever it is. Whether it's getting married, whether it's having children, whether it's converting, whether it's leaving your job to do service work, to teach, whatever it is, you have to value the thing that got you there. And what I'm realizing these days, particularly in these times, these pandemics, is that we stop valuing that process that authentically gave us this space and agency to talk about and appreciate who we are. We talk about COVID, we talk about Delta, we talk about Omicron, we talk about politics, we talk about Trump. None of these things are authentic in the scope of it helped us get to who we are. None of it. But you see it on television, but you see it in the news. News these days, in its toxic forms, is probably one of the most selfish aspects of communication that you ever deal with. Because your news is based upon basically who's buying the advertising space. And so the conversation that you have is not like the conversation you had back 20, 30 years ago when the news was essentially the news. The Harry Reasons, the Walter Cronkite's, the Max Robinsons, these people gave you facts. But it's not that now. This weird space of competition, let me say competition, led me to this whole thing where I'm talking about that talent outside of me, for lack of a better word, was overwhelming to the point I didn't recognize and did not appreciate the talent within. There's a growth process. When you're a young black man or a young black woman, and I'm not dissuading anybody, I'm just talking about our process here. There's a space, brothers and sisters, where it's always a false bottom. Always a false bottom. When you come to a space with your best self and somebody pulls the bottom out and you have to start at another bottom and you have to start at another bottom. And that is accepted in the United States. That is accepted about black people as a culture. It wasn't until people said, I know there's a false bottom. I'm just not going to stand on that false bottom. I know you're lying. I'm just not going to stand around for you to lie to me. And in those spaces away from this toxic environments going back to the 20s, 30s, 40s, you have to realize, brothers and sisters, that there has been, and I want to say, institutional effort to make sure that people consistently get in their way. Like, I'm a person, brothers and sisters, I'll be honest, I'm not good with excuses. Even when I have a valid excuse, I'm not good with excuses. My excuses are like, hey, I didn't make it here on time because my plane didn't leave. I'm sorry I'm late because the wheels fell off the plane. I'm sorry I'm late because there was a tornado. I'm sorry I'm late because there was a hurricane and we couldn't get out. These are the things. And even when I have realistic, rational stories, but there's something inside. Even at this age of 55, it's like I don't want to give people reasons to believe that somehow I'm inferior. And that aspect can lead to some potentially damaging behavior around imposter because now you're trying to overachieve. Because now you're trying to be something way more than you are. The worst part of people who really, really work hard, who really, really apply themselves, who really, really grind to make something happen, is somehow in this world, they feel like they're not really fitting or aligning with their own talent. That whole thing about imposter theory is that some people will say they can do something, but in their mind, they don't feel like they can do it. And they spend large amounts of time, brothers and sisters, essentially in fear and dealing with anxiety that they may be found out. That they may be outed, that you're not, that's why this whole thing of cancel culture is so dangerous, and cancel politics, as I talked about, because you have politicians and celebrities and people who do extremely difficult and meaningful work running around worried that the person who doesn't do the work, or the person who doesn't understand the work, or the person who doesn't understand you somehow has a pathway to judge your actions. There's a thing, and I've talked about it. Jeffrey Colvin wrote a book called Talent is Overrated. And I've read this book over and over and over again. Talent is overrated. And he talked about this thing about deliberate practice. That you have to get up, if so-and-so is doing 2 hours, you're going to go do 4 hours. You're going to practice 2 hours longer, and you're going to work on a certain aspect. And let me tell you something. I was a huge disciple of deliberate practice. People like Kobe Bryant were huge disciples of deliberate practice. But here's the thing, brothers and sisters. In that effort to overachieve, you miss out on life. You miss out on things. As much as I like Kobe Bryant, you know what he said? I regret the time I was chasing these championships and didn't get to spend time with my daughters. For me as a comedian, there was times that I could have been doing things that would have been just as fulfilling, whether it was getting married, having children, but I put these things off because I was in this pursuit, brothers and sisters, of this fake ephemeral around me that said that you've got to be better than this. You got to be better than this. That the entertainment game is laughing at you. In some regards, that the Muslim community was laughing at you. That somehow I had to be super Muslim. I had to be above what I am. Yes, I get my prayers in, but at one time it's like, I got to make them all at the masjid. It was times I wasn't even near masjid. I remember one time, brothers and sisters, under this fantasy, if you will, this fake fantasy, if you will. I remember being in Kokomo, Indiana. Oh, no. Back it up. I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I was so worried about the brothers in Milwaukee talking about me being a comedian and being a kafir and all these things that I was like, I'm going to go to Juma. I don't care where it is. Me, I'm a damn fool. I drove 79 miles to Kokomo, Indiana. At the time, it was Trinity University, looking for Muslims, finding the Muslims, got there, and the khatib didn't show up. And because I had been Muslim the longest, like 7 months, I had to give the khutbah. And I sat here going, what the hell am I doing? You know what my khutbah was? Hey, listen here. Do what you can. Try not to sin the next week. That was what it was, brothers and sisters. It was a basic thing. And as I drove back to Fort Wayne from Kokomo, I said, we can never do this again. You are out of your freaking mind. Why did I do it though? Voices, impressions, expectation, perception. All of these things had to do with me getting in a car and doing a round trip of almost, 160 miles. And then someone said, hey, bro, you could have just prayed in your room, right? You could have prayed in your room, right? And I was so pent up. I was like, no, I had to give the khutbah today. But let me wrap this up. What I've said here, brothers and sisters, about imposter syndrome is the fact that I need us, all of us, myself included, to begin having conversations about how we liberate ourselves in the midst of all this foolishness. You know, you can talk about COVID, we talk about Delta, we talk about all this stuff, Omicron, but the fact of the matter is, just like me driving to Kokomo, we all gonna die. We're all gonna die. I know my pastor's watching. I'm giving his favorite line. Ain't nobody here getting out alive. He's true. But my point is, that's facts. But we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our loved ones to try to live the best life that we can. And part of that begins with us moving out of our own way, addressing the enemy within. The fact that we have feelings that we're inferior. The fact that we have feelings that somehow our words don't matter. The fact that in some regards that we're invisible. The fact that we believe that people are out to get us. Yes, historically people have been out to get us, and legally they have the right to do so. And I'm not saying that things are 100% better, but I am saying, just like back in the day, when I woke up one day and I said, wait a minute. I'm going to do a test. I'm going to do something nice for me, and I'm going to see if anybody stops me. I'm going to do something nice for somebody else. I'm going to see if anybody stops me. I'm going to say something intelligent and funny, and I'm going to see if anybody stops me. And more and more, a dangerous thing happened. I grew confidence. And sometimes arrogance, but I grew confidence. And that confidence, brothers and sisters, boils down to the fact that, alhamdulillah, all praises due to Allah, all praises due to God, that I learned to love myself as myself. You hear that silence? That's exactly what I heard when I said it to myself. I'm the only child. But from that, I grew strength. And I'm still an introvert. It's just that I learned when I go out, not to tell jokes, brothers and sisters, not to entertain people and tell jokes through comedy. What I'm doing now is that I got to entertain, not people, but I got to enjoy people. I became a conduit for joy, and I enjoy it. I like it. And so, as I close, brothers and sisters, I'm going to ask all of you again, look at the files of, things that hold you back. Have honest conversations with yourself. Maybe even have honest conversations with your family, because maybe they can help. Maybe there's some things that you're doing you can't see. But let it be an act of love. Let it be an act of not talent wanted, but talent within. Appreciating yourself and appreciating the people that appreciate you. All right. That's it for today. Deal with your enemy within, and whatever you do, brothers and sisters, if you are in the state of Indiana, do not drive to Kokomo for Juma. All right. Brother Eric, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my friend. Glad to see you made it on the show. What's the show without Brother Eric? Appreciate you, man. Anybody else, Satana? Oh, sister, I got to read the screen because, let's see. Only concern should be that what you know Allah expects. Only you and He, shortcomings included. Absolutely. You get the alhamdulillah from me, because that is right on time. It's timely. What? How you doing, Sally Ayid, who is a very promising author, brothers and sisters. She does some child books. Good to see you. Mashallah, you guys should have Preacher Moss come and speak for MSA. Mashallah, he is great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Sister Sally, could you send us the name of your book again? I forgot. I still have it. I know you sent it as you wanted me to review it. I gave it a review. I thought it was excellent. Thank you so much. But some of our viewers might want to check out your book. Okay. While we're doing that, let's go ahead and get to our sponsors, please. I want to give a shout out to www.befinanciallyindependent.com. Again, that's www.befinanciallyindependent.com. You want to make sure that you check that out. As well, brothers and sisters, we want to also tell everybody, if you can't go to the website, guess what? Call 202-508-3780. Again, that's 202-508-3780. All right. Next up, if you're thinking about getting a quality Islamic graduate education, look no further than Bayan Islamic Graduate School in Claremont, California, offering master's programs in Islamic education, Islamic studies, and leadership. And they have a master's divinity program with a focus in Muslim chaplaincy. We do need Muslim chaplains. So sign up, go to bayanonline.org. Again, that's bayanonline.org. That's right, don't slip. Go to bayanonline.org. Okay. And we want to make sure that you are supporting, brothers and sisters, ShOUT TV, the newest Muslim streaming service, Muslim streaming platform that's out there. I am a part of the ShOUT family, and I hope to be bringing some things to you, special programming, things like that. They are currently screening. Yes, that's right. My comedy special, my comedy opus, Love Supreme and Anatomy of Gratitude. Listen, I would encourage everybody, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. They have you have an offer free for 7 days. I'm old school. Watch it one day and then cancel the subscription. I'm not supposed to say that, but I said that. It was on my heart. Okay. And last but not least, brothers and sisters, we want to make sure that we give a shout out to Convenient Urgent Care, who has taken the time and the energy to reach out in the city of Houston, 3 locations, Pasadena, Cypress, and Park Road in Houston. That's www.convenienturgent.com. Again, that's www.convenienturgent.com. They are doing great work in 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, 2nd Ward, getting out there really and meeting the people where they are with health information, with PPE equipment, things like that, trying to make a difference. So we want to shout them out, and I salute them because they put their money where their mouth is, and they delivered an amazing PSA, the greatest COVID awareness video that's out there. If you guys get a chance, get the link, go to YouTube, go to Don't Get the COVID, get that link and share it with your friends. We're trying to save lives out here today. All right. So without further ado, we're going to run the ad. Don't get the COVID. See you guys on Monday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear Don't Get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.